Well, good evening, everybody. This is Carpo After Dark. And you know what time it is. You know exactly what time it is. It's Christmas time. Oh, Christmas time. Christmas is the time when more people become depressed or upset than any other time of the year. I believe that more people commit suicide during the Christmas season than any other time of the year, which would make sense because it is the time where families come together and people realize that maybe they're not as happy, or they don't have a family, or they get depressed because it's the time of the year they would have spent with their family, whatever the reason may be. I'm sipping a fine cup of tea while I'm thinking about this, so, of course the tea is assisting. Well, I guess all I really wanted to say about Christmas was that it used to be a stressful time of year for me. Not stressful like a lot of people stress out. I've seen people just go off the deep end about Christmas. It was never about presents it was always about me wanting to be able to afford to buy everything for the people I wanted to. But at the same time, never really, even when I had the money, really having the motivation or knowing what to buy for people. And that's my own fault. In other words, I'm not a very good gift giver. I give things away to people, but as far as like picking out gifts, I'm just not very good at it. And I think it's because of my idea of wastefulness and how I don't like buying things just for the sake of buying something, if that makes sense. I refuse to buy greeting cards. I make my own cards. I always have, for my wife and kids and whatnot. I won't support Hallmark or whatnot. I'm not going to just buy a bunch of presents just to buy them. But you want to show that appreciation to people this time of year. So it can be depressing for a lot of people because they're broke and they can't afford it. And so between the idea of people not having a family and then people being too broke to support their family, it can be a depressing and stressful time. And it shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be. I can sit here and say this, but, I guess what got me thinking about, the negative aspect was I got up this morning and, whatever I got in my eye is like in my cornea, and I haven't been able to use my eye. I know it'll come out eventually. Things always do, but not only haven't I been able to use my left eye today, but I woke up and I was also sick. And I had a sore throat and a headache, and on top of it, I'm super tired. Nothing's working. And I'm broke, and I haven't started buying presents yet, yada yada. All these problems that I have, and I realize these are just the common problems that everybody faces. In other words, the fact that I'm sick today and that I can't really use my eye, to me, isn't a negative thing. It's an alright. It gives me a new lease on life, a new appreciation for the good times, because I've been feeling pretty good lately. And for the last 5 years, I've had on and off, recurring sciatic pain, extreme sciatic pain episodes where I felt like I was going to die. So I know what chronic pain is all about. And I've tried every medication. That's what got me taking Kratom. It was the only thing that worked, and that's why I'm such a strong supporter of that plant. But, when you're in pain, nothing matters. The seasons don't matter. Holidays don't matter. You're just in pain. And since I stopped doing labor construction and I started being smarter and stopped lifting stuff, my back hasn't hurt in months. And I keep thinking every time I lift something or move something, it's going to hurt tomorrow, because it's something that takes time. But it doesn't. So the fact that I've been out of pain has been a surprise, and now that I'm having one day of suffering is no big deal. It's just part of life. It's just how it is, man. And every time I have a bad day, or what a person may use or consider a bad day, it hasn't been really a bad day. I've just been watching TV, chilling out, hanging with the kids, painting pictures, making stuff. You make the best of it. You make the best of every moment. You make the best of what you've got. And that's all you can do. But every time something like this comes up, it reminds me of all the old Buddhist books I read, all the old Zen teachings, and Alan Watts always comes to mind, Manly Hall, these principles of balance, these archetypes of balance, the understanding that there will always be suffering. That's one of the most misunderstood things about Buddhism, when they say that, clarity of mind comes when you realize that suffering is life, that life is suffering. And people misunderstand that. And I guess you can take it however you want. Whatever suffering means to the individual, you can get into semantics. But what that means to me, through my analysis of Buddhist principles, is the idea that, life isn't suffering, but life requires suffering to have good times. This is something I've debated with people about a lot. Not in like a bad way, not like arguing about it, just saying, it's just kind of like the free will argument, I guess. It's all in your own head. You can make up your own your own little system to whatever you want to think, however you want things to work, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but when you see things come together and you see the balance of nature and you see how everything works, at least to the best of our human ability, you start to see many, many patterns, and those patterns have positives and negatives. You can call it duality, yin yang, call it whatever you want. But when you start talking about it and labeling it, you say, oh, well, I'm a dualist, and all of a sudden people believe in this, that you believe that there's equal positive and negative, and that everything is, black and white. It's just not that simple. Things are more complicated. In other words, I don't see evil or good as like these things that are inherently, permanent, that they're just intertwined, serpents around the same pole, if you will. So I made the decision in my life, I guess, not to be affected by too much of the fine details of worrying about negative things or consequences, or rather I just learn from each thing I do. I hurt my eye, so what can you learn from that? Well, I could say wear goggles everywhere I go, but I can't do that. So shit happens is the only answer to that one. When it comes to being sick, shit happens to that one too. Maybe I could have eaten a little better last few days and maybe had a better immunity, but it doesn't matter, because I also understand that it's like people are always worried about getting sick, and I just see it as a way for your immune system to get worked out, just like anything else. Maybe that's not really the scientific method of how it works, but the fact is that I've observed that the people who are kept from germs tend to have more reactions. You can build up a tolerance to everything in life, including suffering. So if you have a lot of suffering in your life, you can become almost stoic, like steely, and like nothing can affect you, and that's not a good way to be either. So we want to have emotion, but we don't want to let everything run the way we think. I was thinking earlier about how we're microbes. We're like all microbes. I've been putting microbes in my, growing my cannabis with microbes in the soil to help with the roots and the mycorrhizal network and everything. And I was reading up on it. Most of these fungus and mycorrhizal networks, these little mycelium, they've been able to like isolate DNA, but they haven't been able to replicate it. In other words, you can't grow, say, mycelium on a wall. It has to be in the right situation. It's a very complicated scientific thing, but geneticists, I've heard them arguing on these sites, not arguing, but really discussing like how they just can't know for sure how many of these organisms work. I think they call it like dual genetics or something like that, where there's more than one influence that determines what a species is. But anyway, all of these things amaze me. The idea that microbes are, make up more of our body than we actually have cells. Actually, there are more microbes in our bodies, I believe, than than cells. So we actually are mostly walking, I mean, walking germs, if you will, you know, and this is why I'm not a germaphobe at all. And I know a few people who are, and I'm like, look, you know, if you know, you don't want to hear the truth of it, you know, whatever. There's eyelash mites that only live in human eyelashes, you know, that there's, you know, certain species that only live in human livers or only live in human kidneys, but they have to be there. They're part of it. There's a reason. There's a purpose for everything. And I'm not trying to be mystical about that, but rather in the sense that, you know, most microbes in your body have a purpose. We don't always fully understand what it is. So, anyway, I talked about microbes and Crissmiss. What more is there, huh? Guess I wanted to throw the microbe thing in there since I was thinking about it, because I probably would never make a video about that. I'll forget again. But I guess I wanted to wish everyone a great Christmas, great holiday, whatever you celebrate. Call it whatever you will. Solstice, winter. But I hope you have a good one and you don't let the negative aspects of it affect you. I don't buy into the Black Friday stuff, but if people want to, that's fine, you know. I don't feel like I have to go out and buy a million gifts, but if people want to, that's fine. Just so long as you're not telling yourself, damn it, I should be spending thousands of dollars and I don't have it. It's just, you know, it shouldn't be about that. It really should be about family and friends and coming together. And yeah, you can say that, but, you know, it is a stressful time of year for some people, and I can see that. So just remember the balance of suffering. It's best you can. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.